Creating the third video in this series was always going to happen, not just because of the ranking the maps of the first two games, but down to the relative success of these videos on my channel. So first of all, I want to thank every one of you who has watched one of my previous videos and shown support to JJ's productions. With that in mind, we have a lot of maps to cover, so let's get into this. Okay, so one point I would like to make after reading a lot of the comments from the previous videos is that we'll only be covering the maps themselves. So other factors such as how memorable the main missions are, or how likeable certain characters or targets are, they will be not taken into consideration. So with that out of the way, let's get started. My initial reaction to this map has been hard to shake, that as a story set piece, and perhaps as a lead-in for IO Interactive to show their potential with Project 007 on the horizon. The Carpathian Mountains mission is excellent, placing a lot of obstacles in between Agent 47 and the villainous Arthur Edwards, even giving 47 a license to kill. Almost. However, as a map, it is far too linear to not stand out as an anomaly against all of the maps that will follow on this list. With only one way forward, I may stand alone, but this map is just one I have little intention of replaying for pleasure, with all the secrets uncoverable in just 2 to 3 playthroughs. For this reason, arguably one of the better missions in the game has to be bottom of this list solely down to a poor map. Similar to my thoughts in Hitman 2's ranking video, it is hard to rank this map high, simply due to it being quite bland. Whilst I do give praise to the development team for how they adapted the map for the Mill Revelation Halloween escalation, by and large there is a distinct lack of replayability in the map, partly due to the small size, but also due to the map being centred around Reynard's house and little else happening in the surrounding parts of the map. Whilst not a bad map for a tutorial, it cannot be ranked higher, just due to it only being good for introducing players to the game. Perhaps a controversial low entry here with a map I was excited for ahead of Hitman 3's release, England sounded like an exciting location for Agent 47 to travel to. However, once I ventured into Thornbridge Manor, I was left distinctly unimpressed by its oversimplicity. The default start of the mission leads you to jump a wall, and from here on out the map seems so straightforward that anyone who has played a Hitman game should feel comfortable traversing the map without even needing to change disguise. Perhaps not wanting to lock people out of the manor, IO inadvertently made what could have been a relatively difficult map one of the most simplistic, where if you can climb a drain pipe, you have access to all areas of the manor, and all of its potential targets, taking a lot of the challenge out of eliminating anyone.
We're tremendously busy here. It's only numbers. I'm sure Jordan Cross doesn't need a cake to remind him how old he is.
At this point we're going to the opposite end of the scale, where there is a distinct lack of opportunities to traverse the map, however you wish. Whilst the east wing of the hotel is quite open, with a drain pipe allowing access to all floors, the west wing is not so readily accessible, with only one drain pipe at hand that allows you to circumvent a disguise and a frisk. Adding to this that despite having balconies that offer verticality, there is little opportunity for what I would consider stealth sniper gameplay, with all ground level NPCs being in sight of each other making silent kills quite difficult to achieve. Whilst being a map that had a lot of potential, the limitations of the game impact the effectiveness of the map, with players being given few choices in how to achieve their eventual end goals. Yep, this has dropped in my rankings since the first video I made. Whilst I still enjoyed the challenge of this map, the ecstasy of completing an SASO route on this map, it has not been bested in any map since, I must add. I recognise its limitations more now than I was willing to before. Limited verticality, limited disguises, and a general lack of a key selling feature other than being obnoxiously difficult to complete. There's a reason why Colorado is notorious in the world of assassination. As a mission, I dislike Marrakesh. The annoying nature of having to traverse between the school and the consulate is mind-numbingly frustrating for anyone trying to take both targets out inside their fortresses. However, this video is not aimed to judge the main missions but the merits of the maps themselves. Here I'd like to look not only at the vanilla map but its variant for the house built on sand, which are both great for creating contracts, I must add. I feel like the DLC saves the map a lot due to it condensing the places to go to just the Shisha Cafe, rather than having multiple focal points that the vanilla map attempts to have. The map is littered with environmental opportunities for elimination, but also good ways to traverse, whether we are discussing the tunnels in the main mission's map, or the rooftops of Marrakesh notable in the DLC, but also in the vanilla map. What cannot be ignored, however, is the crowds though. Whilst realistic to what a Moroccan bazaar or marketplace would look like, I imagine anyway, they make playthroughs feel slow and a chore, unless your target is right by an exit. I feel like Marrakesh is a map the developers may look back on as a missed opportunity, as it sold the idea of a world of assassination perfectly, showing more NPCs than ever before and making players feel like they were living and breathing in this world. But because they didn't make the map flow smoothly between the hotspots of the school, Shisha Cafe and consulate, it feels at times like you spend most of your playthrough walking around rather than finding cool ways to complete your contracts. Three targets in a Colombian rainforest sounds like a Hitman map made in heaven. And whilst there is a lot to like about Santa Fortuna, hidden shortcuts, plentiful kill opportunities and several mini fortresses alongside the main fortress, the vastness of the map also counts against its likability. Whether you're playing the main mission or attempting a contract, multiple targets spread out across the map can make going from the construction yard to the drug fields and other targets in between more of a chore than a challenge. For similar reasons to Santa Fortuna, Mumbai ranks low on this list due to being too vast. Whilst my opinions have changed a bit since my last rankings due to realising that Mumbai is friendlier to the player who wants to avoid disguises, I still find the bloat of NPCs hard to stomach. Whilst it remains true to what a part of Mumbai could look like, I would ask if this is what we wanted from a Hitman map. Whilst Agent 47 cannot always be the VIP guest, arriving late to the party, other maps in the series show that wider areas can be done right without needing the spaces in between the fortresses to be so busy. The busier the map is, the less memorable NPCs become, where amongst the crowds of Mumbai, only those with unique disguises stand out. At this point of the video, I feel the list ventures from maps that I do not particularly like or what I believe are more challenging than they need to be, to maps that are quite good but will perhaps lack something. Whittleton Creek ranks second on my Hitman 2 rankings list, in part because I took the main missions into account, but also because I enjoyed the small nature of the map. This remains true now, as I still prefer the intimate nature of Whittleton Creek to the hustle and bustle of its predecessor in Mumbai. However, later maps in the series show that small in scale does not necessarily require a small map. Whilst the party offers itself up as a centre point of the map, I feel another street or even a taller building would have given this map more gravitas, whereas at times Whittleton Creek has a lot of the sameness going from one street to another with little distinguishing one house or street from the next from the outside. Whilst the interiors correct this, giving each house character, the lack of people in these buildings also hinders this map's attempts at feeling fully fleshed out. Remaining in Hitman 2 for a fourth consecutive entry, Avon Island was a challenging map for me to place, in part because I have not played it that much. That fact alone does not lower it in my estimations a bit. However, I cannot ignore the positives of this map with a fortress within a fortress, the server farm below Tyson Williams Villa, being surrounded by lots of open spaces that allow players to choose multiple ways to approach playthroughs. There's some nice verticality with the radio tower, plus the villa has a few ways to approach entry other than simply climbing up a pipe, meaning it is not difficult to vary your approach within the level's fortress. With more time invested in this map, I could rank this higher, as I believe it has the key ingredients to make a good Hitman map. However, with my limited playthroughs, I feel safe leaving this just below the halfway mark and re-evaluating it later down the road. I rank Mendoza this high on the list for being brave. It tries to offer a fortress for Don Yates, a roaming area for Tamara Vidal, whilst offering other areas for the player to explore that can prove useful during the main mission playthrough. The open areas offer opportunities for some very creative, or at least colourful accidental eliminations. However, the fortress itself feels bland by comparison. Compare the Don's fortress to the previously mentioned Rico Delgado's, and this new playground just feels a little bit dull by comparison. What saves it is a natural flow at times, allowing the player to go from the party or the winery into the villa, with some minor sneaking required. It's just a shame that what happens in the villa, whether in the main mission or for the contracts, is quite limited by comparison to the masses of opportunity the rest of the map has on offer. Maybe the map would have been best had the villa not been a part of the map and the fortress simply been a part of the winery and party. Let me know your thoughts in the comments on this one, cause I feel like I'm being harsh.
Won't you join us, sir? We were just about to begin.
Another that ranked well during Hitman 2, but had suffered a bit with time. The Isle of Scale is still a map I enjoy, and I believe it is one of the better levels for creating contracts on. With multiple levels and areas for the player to explore, whilst vast, the map benefits from its vertical build by spreading targets out high and low instead of just wide. Something that later maps did well in my opinion. Whilst this is a benefit, it also is the Isle's problem, with Disguise play encouraged to allow quick traversal between sections, as suit-only playthroughs can sometimes feel limited to a select few areas of the map that 47 can gain access to. Whilst the underground areas and secret pathways can alleviate some of these issues, the stowaway elusive target sums up some of the problems of the map, that with all of the map enjoying a party at different levels of access, it's hard for 47 to just walk around on his own, let alone isolate a target. This map certainly falls under the close but just not close enough category in my opinion, even though I do still enjoy it. After my first playthrough of this map, the initial reactions I heard to this level was that it was not good, bland, or perhaps just not that interesting as an opening level for Hitman 3. And to a degree, I can understand these criticisms. After all, both of the series' other opening installments are yet to make this list. However, with this in mind, I do not believe that Dubai is a bad map. I believe it offers an improvement on some of the issues I had with the likes of the Isle of Scale, and other maps on this list so far, that even though there is a lot to explore on this map, it doesn't feel hard moving around whether you wear a disguise or not. Perhaps where it falls short is that there was a greater expectancy of more heightened traversal, more opportunities to use the outside of the building to get to targets, and for this I will admit to being a little disappointed. However, what it does well. The elevator shafts offer a new way of moving within a building without feeling as tedious as Mumbai's tower shaft did. Plus the backstage always were designed well enough to place enough NPCs on a given path to make sneaking a challenge without being too obnoxious either, that moving through the main party areas wasn't mandatory. Dubai could be summed up similar to the likes of Marrakesh, a what if or what could have been. However, I feel what it is should be praised in comparison to others. Okay, I adore the aesthetics of this level, so it pains me to leave this so low on the list. However, looking at the design objectively, some flaws do need to be addressed. First of all, praise for the multiple levels once again. We have the heights of the block, scaling the building, finding a way represents a fun challenge where you can enter from multiple angles. Whilst dropping deep below, we have multiple levels once again in the ICA facility, all gated by security dongles, presenting a minor challenge to anyone wanting to centralise a suit-only playthrough in this particular area. Whilst a challenge can be positive, I also recognise the negatives around this, that most speedruns of this main mission I've seen so far have utilised moving Imogen Royce out of the facility because gaining access inside is tedious. Whilst I do not wish to dwell on the missions, as this is not what is being ranked, the fact that the players choose to take this option does show Chongqing's weakness. The ICA facility can be a bit annoying. As an area, I like it personally. It contrasts well against the streets above and provides different sets of challenges to the openness of Chongqing streets and the relatively sparse block where Hush resides. However, with the block having more ways in and out, it's understandable why people would prefer to play on the streets than go inside and hack some sewer vents during their visits to China. Again, it pains me to have New York this low on the list, as I feel it is the best piece of DLC across the 3 games as far as being a new map and being superior to a number of the vanilla maps on the same game. Whilst the main missions target as a fortress, the open areas of this map create fun challenges during contracts of how to isolate individuals without raising an alarm. Each floor feels like it has a theme, whether it be the main foyer, which is free to explore, a floor up is more restricted to just tellers and bankers, and beyond that is just bankers and security. Each level of the bank flows naturally. What I feel this map does lack is a bit of an exterior, which is not a major criticism, as what it does well, and arguably doesn't need an exterior. However, compared to other maps, traversing via pipes or ledges is a bit non-existent in this level, meaning keycards are almost a necessity if you want to move around unimpeded. Whilst difficult to implement, perhaps if New York had created an unexplorable outside area, it would have been better, allowing even better movement around the floors and giving players more options on how to get to their targets. However, what we have got is more than fine, and the map, similar to Whittleton Creek, is only held back on this list due to its size not being the biggest, even though it makes great use of what it has. At this point, any map could rightfully be ruled as the best map in the Hitman trilogy, and I would not disagree with you. However, I feel that Hokkaido is the unlucky one just to fall short of the rest in this list. If you were to ask me what is wrong with Hokkaido, my answer would not be a lot, in all honesty. It falls short for one simple reason: Kai. Whilst challenging and arguably making the map more interesting as a result, it also means that moving around is not as simple as breaking open a door, but having to wear a disguise or drag an unconscious body into position. The beauty of this map though is, despite this issue, it's still not that difficult getting into key areas of the map, with only 1 or 2 areas truly locked off without the appropriate disguise. It is hard to say what could have improved Hokkaido, perhaps because there isn't a lot to improve. The rooftops of the hospital area are accessible but rarely utilised, so had there been some good sniping opportunities from there, then the map may have been enhanced even more. Instead, most sniping is just done from the mountain path exit area, which is convenient in multiple ways. Seeing how Hitman 3 utilised conditional access on certain levels, perhaps allowing Tobias Reaper to have a chat with the surgeons in the hospital may have been a fun way of offering suit-only routes in that area, without simply sneaking. However, at this point I am clutching at straws. What do you think could have made Hokkaido a bit better? Let me know in the comments. Up next we go back to the beginning, and as you will note, the ICA facility has not been included on this list. Even if there are 2 maps, it is not in the world of Assassination, as it is just an undisclosed location. Paris is where it all began truly, and I believe if you play this level and do not fall in love with the series, then this genre is just not for you. While security is a bit laxer than most other entries on this list, there are so many ways to explore the map and eliminate any given target, that it almost feels too easy now with 3 games worth of gadgets and weapons at our disposal. As you enter the Paris Palace, kill opportunities are scattered all over, with chandeliers, unattended wine glasses, gas canisters, lamps, stage speakers. The list is almost endless. I hear you say that other maps preceding this on the list have had the same quantity of opportunities, and while I do not disagree there, I feel the simplicity of this map is what sells them. A tech crew member walks around a museum looking over weaponry that is asking to be used on him. A battle axe rests by a wall close to a journalist waiting at the gift shop, asking you if you want to use it on her or someone else. Depending on whether you play the main mission or are fulfilling another contract, it is hard not to complete a Paris playthrough. It is why people look back so fondly on this entry and see it as the benchmark for what is to come. Again, this one stings me, but Miami is in my opinion the third best map in this trilogy. I love this map. Following the footage of it in pre-release and then getting to explore it myself when I got my copy post-launch, it did not just match the hype in my mind, but it bettered it. To this day, I believe the race and its driver being one of the main targets was such a killer feature. But taking main missions out of the equation again, I just love how the race affects the map, with Sierra and her crew, and Moses Lee and his crew, joining the map once the race ends, giving players a conundrum of do they wish to complete the contract with or without them on the actual map. Adding to this that accessible levels for 47 without a disguise is generous, but not too much. The game gives you the ability to explore and eliminate without being heavily restrictive in the process. If I had to nitpick on one thing in Miami, it would be that at times it is difficult to traverse between areas, where going from the Kronstadt building to the race can be a bit of a chore, but by comparison to Santa Fortuna or Mumbai, it never feels a chore. Perhaps it's merely a benefit of Miami being the first of 3 quite large maps, and it sits fondly in my mind for that reason. But I prefer travelling from the Kronstadt building to the race paddocks in Miami than going from Darwood's Tower in Mumbai to the train yards. Let me know, is Miami worth a top 5 spot in your mind?
Get your butt into gear or you'll be late.
Relax, it's all good. Just gotta put some pants on.
Why aren't you wearing...
Sapienza never seems to come out as the winner in these videos, and again it is unlucky not to win out, as had I split this video up into each individual game, it would have been the best in my opinion for Hitman 2016 this time. Taking into account as well the multiple variations we have had of this map with the Icon, Landslide and the Author, Sapienza has shown itself to be a versatile map that can have a focus wherever it chooses. Oh, you want a target to be in the church? Fine, we can make that happen. Oh, you want your target to be filming a new production right in the centre of Sapienza's main square? We can make that work. Oh, you don't just want one target, but 2 to be inside the big mansion overlooking the entire map. That's just grand. Whatever the game has thrown at Sapienza, it has made it work. Taking missions out of the equation, there is just so much room to create contracts and eliminate NPCs on any variation of this map. The church tower and clock tower always seem to loom over the map in a positive way, whilst 47's safe house is always there, offering players a vantage point of the harbour or a balcony view of the main square. It is hard not to like Sapienza, to want to explore its secrets and to use them to your advantage.
I'll take care of this.
Okay, this one feels controversial, yet right. After my first playthrough of Berlin, my gut reaction was this was a map for the players. Those players who want to eliminate whoever they want. It feels like a map for the players, whether it be the creators wanting to create a challenge for others, or for players wanting to route a set of eliminations around this wonderful labyrinth of an area. On paper, it doesn't seem as open as Sapienza or Miami, not as simple as Paris, yet the challenge is up there with Hokkaido as far as moving around the map undetected, if that's your preference, and choosing which opportunities work best for taking out your targets. I feel the Berlin Egund and the Satu Mare Delirium demonstrate the flexibility of this map as well, with both adapting well to new layouts, such as no biker gangs, the former closing the inside of the club off, while the latter making the entire club hostile. Yet both remain enjoyable to play through, and offer some flexibilities despite the latter forcing the player into a restricted loadout. Whilst I do not expect much more of Berlin in post-launch content out of maybe an elusive target, I feel the community will benefit from this map in the months ahead, and hopefully it will feel less controversial ranking it this high towards the end of the Hitman trilogy's life cycle. As I said though, any of the top 5 maps had, in my opinion, a claim to be the best map in the new series. However, you may believe another map did. You may think Berlin is horrid and that Bangkok has been mistreated once again in one of my lists. Let me know down in the comments what your thoughts are, and let's see what we agree on. Thanks to all of you for the support on the last 2 videos. If this one does anywhere near as well as them, then I will be so thankful for all the support you've shown the channel. With that in mind, I'd ask you to hit the like button on this video whether you agreed with my choices here or not, just as a show of support for putting my opinions out there and making the video. And if you want to go one step further and you haven't already, hit the subscribe button and you'll be notified of any future videos I make for Hitman 3 or other games that I play on the channel. Once again, thank you, and I hope to see you all in another video. This has been Josh from JJ's Productions, and until next time, bye for now folks.